Hello, everybody. We will start in a few minutes. So, do you all want to start the quiz now, or you all want to start the quiz at 11:30? Hey, good, Iniko and Jewel. Hey, Iniko, I did not I wasn't sure if you will be interested in future classes with myself. Let me know now, or you could always reach out to Mr. Sinanan. I wasn't sure. All right. Well, you ask her and they'll get back to me. All right. Let's do a quiz. Somebody says, let's do a quiz. I agree. Let's do a quiz while we say in Form 3, no problem. Well, just by the way, the future class will be more focused for Form 4s and Form 5s. It will be ideal for Form 4s and Form 5s. So tell me, how many Form 4s and Form 5s we have here today? And G1, oh no, you misclicked. Oh no. Why, G1? Why? All right, so Form 5s and persons going into Form 4s. The classes from September will be ideal because we will be covering the syllabus and plenty past papers. Okay? Oh, goody, good. Now let's see how everyone is doing with the quiz for those who came in early. For those of you now joining us, as always, we start the class with our ceremonial quiz. Right, Emily, here's the link for the quiz. There you go, for those of you not joining us. Right, all right, good. So Cassidy has more or less finished the quiz. Anastasia as well. G1, oh, that one question he misclicked on. Oh no, G1. So I'm just gonna give a few minutes for the rest of the class, for those of you now coming in. By the way, today is our last class, or I'm so sad, last class for August. I'm so sad. So we still have students now joining us. Here's the link, right? Arden, here's the link. I'm gonna put the link again. So Anastasia, great job. G1, Aman, Jesse, CJ, Cassidy, Matthew. Okay, good, good, good. Yes, Aman, very close to getting full marks. That is awesome. That is awesome. Class, I have a question, and you know I love to ask you all questions. So, what was the topic we were talking about for the last two to three classes? And programming, yes. Now, a lot of people think that CSEC, information technology, is all about programming. Or you have to know about algorithms, you have to know about flowcharts, but and writing code, Pascal, whether you're choosing Pascal or C++. There are other application software that students must be very familiar with. One is, and there's three of them. Well, I think there's four. The first one is what? Microsoft Word. So we have to be very familiar with Microsoft Word. In paper one, I've seen paper one questions with Microsoft Word as the topic. I've seen Excel. Yes, Zach, Excel. Zach said Excel question mark. I saw that. PowerPoint. And what's the other one? What's the other one? There is Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but there's another one that students need to be Yes, Zach, database management is what the software does. But what's the name of the software? What's the name of it? Um, yes, Microsoft Access is the name of it. Correct. Sure, I will then send it and I'll organize. Send it and I will organize. Good morning, Malik. So Malik, sorry, Malik, Malik, Malik. Oops. Right. So we will be talking in today's class about Microsoft Access. Malik, right? Yeah. Whoa. This will be one of my challenges. Introductions, Malik. I did say that the first time, Malik, correct, Malik. Introduction to databases. Now, class, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, gosh, sir, I don't understand this thing, and 10 means, boy, Microsoft, I could I could do that in my sleep. I could actually access Microsoft Access in my sleep, in my dreams. It's like the best thing ever. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your understanding? What is your confidence level on Microsoft Access? Link for the slideshow. You all love these links. You all like to go through my slides. All right, so here's the link. Right, so and go, that's fine. You didn't fail the quiz. You didn't fail the quiz. It just means that you're gonna do better next time. So someone said -0, someone said -1, someone said 5, someone said they're not sure. And someone said 6. Well, I promise you today, I promise you by the end of today's class, that -0 will become a 1, will at least become a 1. Someone said 1, that 1 will become at least a 3 or at least a 5 by the end of today's class. And who said 5 and 6, that number will go up. Yes, there is a Microsoft Access, correct? Some of you may or may not have it on your system, but that's okay. Whether you have it or not is not an excuse to not understand it. So let's talk about databases. Let's talk about databases. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what is a database? Right. So OpenOffice, Zach, OpenOffice, and Google have their own version of Microsoft Access. It's kind of like open source. So OpenOffice has one. Google Sheets is the Excel version, but I don't think Google has one. But whether you're using Google's one, OpenOffice, we have to understand databases because databases are present everywhere. Arden, that is awesome. Um, right. Sorry, I got sidetracked there just now. Right, so Arden, there's that. Arden, I'm trying to organize that. 1 second, class. Yeah, that's good advice. All right, cool. That's good advice, Arden. I don't know why these notifications just come up. Jared, is up to you. This class is being recorded. So anything you miss. So class, I have a question. Who here could tell me a database that they use? Maybe a database that whether you know that you are using or you're not aware that you're using. Who could give me no, in Microsoft Word is not a database. No. Daniela, you're on the right track. Daniela said the internet, but actually the internet is not so much a database, but it gives us access to many databases. Yes, Terrell. So, yes, Terrell. Terrell said Google Photos. Correct. Social media, Jamai. Social media, yes, but give us an example of a social media site. G1 said Excel as a database. USB drive, no, Sonia, USB drive is not a database. Nicholas says, hi, school records. Yes, Aman, your school will have a database of students and will have a database of information about students. Now, Aman, let me ask you something. Your school records, when you say your school records, are you talking about these filing cabinets here, these fireproof filing cabinets with drawers and folders and files? Or are you referring to a bunch of servers? Yes, the police will have a criminal database. Files on your phone, not so much. Actually, yeah, the files on your phone will have something like a database. Emails, yes, Google email is a database. Right? The first one, right? So some schools, what's going to happen, right? So some class, earliest forms of database may look like this. Before there were computers, schools, your school, and the schools in your community and in your country. By the way, in the chat, let us know what country you're from. Let us know. And if you're from Trinidad, let us know which part in Trinidad you're from. And give us a name of a school in your area. Give us a name of a school. So class, this year, what happens is that this here is our cabinet storing the names of students, information such as what information will your school want to know about you? Shiloh, what Arden, Inco, G1, whether you're going to Mars Hindu school, or the Terra government primary, whichever school, whether you're in Tobago, what information will your principal, your teacher will want to store about you? Right? Aidan, correct. They'll want definitely your name. Jadel, definitely your name, your first name, your last name, your date of birth. From your date of birth, they could calculate your age. Juan said whether you're disciplined or not. Some schools may store your blood type. Some schools may associate your religion with your name, right? Right? Somebody said they went to Dow Village. I think I know that school. Your behavior correct, whether you have allergies. Yes, Malik, allergies, correct. Medical issues. Yes, allergies. They want to know your grades, correct. Your parents, your guardian information, just in case of emergency. So we could see how quickly in a school of over 1,000 students, we could see how quickly these filing cabinets here could get filled up with space. Imagine, so think about this scenario. The students who said, if a student has an allergy, imagine a student has a reaction in school. Something happened to a student in school. And then the teachers have to go through this whole filing cabinet, whether it's the teacher or the nurse, where time is of the essence, or in case of an emergency. Can you imagine the headache and the chaos that could happen when trying to search for that information through these filing cabinets, whether they store it in alphabetical order, right? We only thinking about if there's only 2 cabinets. Imagine there were hundreds of cabinets. So, right? So it will take time to do all of that. Now, with computers, what they realized with computers, wait a minute, with the invention of computers and the internet, they said, you know what? Think about it. Let's say, for example, you are not the principal. The principal of a school needs to access information about student or students or the classes, information about the class, and the principal or the vice principal or the secretary is not on site. Do you know how problematic it would be for them to access this information from here? So they said, you know what? If we take all of this information, convert it into digital data, which makes it easier for finding and storing and connecting the information effortlessly over the internet. Doesn't that make a lot more sense? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense, class? To have all of this information about the student, their address, their emergency contact, their grades, all on the internet. And we spoke about cloud storage as well. We spoke about that. So once you have an internet connection, you could access the database. You can access this database. So guess what? You don't have to go to work. You don't have to go physically to work. You could work from home. So this is what a database is. This is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to do in today's class. Everybody's following so far? What we are essentially doing is converting this information, paper, hard copy, into a digital form. I'm going to pause for questions before we move on onto the anatomy of a database, anatomy of data. Any questions? I'm going to pause for questions. I love it when you all have questions. And I also love it when students say, sir, I understand everything. All right, so how does that 0 out of 10 look in? How does that 1 out of 10 look in? How does it look? Okay. Now, before we go into Microsoft Access and creating, right, we can add 1. Right, somebody says 1. Let's see if it gets better. Okay. Now, in Microsoft Access, right? We might tell ourselves, but so Microsoft Access and Microsoft Excel, they kind of look the same as all rows and columns, not so? What in yes, Emmanuel, a filing cabinet is considered a hard copy sort of database. Is in today's language, when we're talking about databases, we're talking about Microsoft Access, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about files and records as the digital version of it. So when we say database, we kind of mean digital databases. But for all intents and purposes, a filing cabinet, once it's indexed in any form, whether it's alphabetical order, or even like how a library organizes its information, it will be storing the data in some sort of form or fashion that makes it easier to find. So class, do you all remember in Microsoft Excel, we have these vertical, we have these here, and we call these columns. When the data is done vertically, when the vertical, and we call these columns, and then we call these rows, horizontal, and we call these rows. So yes, in Access, it's very, Access and Microsoft Excel does look the same. They do look the same, but there's a subtle difference. In Excel, the vertical line in Excel, we call them columns, and the horizontal lines, we call them rows. But in Access, instead of columns, we call them fields, and instead of rows, we call them records. That's the difference. Nicholas, you good? So that's the first main difference about Excel and Access. In Access, we call them fields instead of columns, and we call them records instead of rows. So that's the first thing. So when your teacher and for the students who want to become the world's best IT engineer or database manager or administrator, database administrator, you will be saying fields and records instead of columns and rows. And it's fine if you use them interchangeably. That's nothing wrong with that. Nothing will go wrong. The computer won't crash. But we will just call them fields and records. By the way, just in the chat, let me know what do you see yourself, what type of career do you want to have? Whether it's IT, doctor, let us know. Because whether you're a doctor, an accountant, you will be using, anyhow you take it, you will be using databases. For aerospace, someone says they want to do aerospace engineering. That's awesome. Love it. Aerospace, accountant, a baker, teacher, cardiologist, doesn't matter, assistant, nurse, medicine, class, you will be doing databases. You will be coming across database. You have to understand it. It can make your life so much easier when you have hundreds of customers, when you have hundreds of data to comb through, especially the accountant. Of course, Arden, you need to do IT for any sort of engineering. When you have to start modeling, when you start to build engineering models. So let's just say you want, for aerospace engineering, you want to build a shell or one of those casings for any of those casings, and you have to use, let's say you're using vanadium or some sort of aluminum alloy. All of those models and calculations, you have to put it in some sort of computer where there's so many modeling softwares before you even start to build. You will have to be using IT, definitely, to do a lot of those engineering calculations. You can either do the engineering calculations by hand, but believe me, it's a whole lot easier when you start punching in those variables into some sort of modeling software. Boy, the amount of time that will save you, but I do digress. So let's talk about starting our first database project. Nicholas says he's hungry, but I would say, Nicholas, bring something for we and let us know what you have. Do move like that. So let us start with building our first database. And I'm going to ask the question again. Who here has Microsoft access to, who has access, no pun intended, to Microsoft Access on their computer? Put it in the chat, don't have to raise your hand, because Daniela raised her hand. So some people don't have it. One person has it. So, okay, if you don't, just follow me on my screen. But we do have the screenshots here in the slides. But I have to show you by doing it. Right, so I will open my Microsoft Access, and then it's going to ask me to create a blank database. Okay, so let's create a blank database. Right, create, I give it a name, I'll call it, as with everything, we give it names. And we'll call it database. Today is the 19th of August. Now, when we do that, look at what happens here. We see a few things here. We see home, we see create, we see external data, database tools, we see view. But let us not look at that right now. Let us look at this here, where it says table and where it says ID and field. Add new field. What did we say earlier? We said the columns or the vertical items, we call them fields. And the horizontal or the rows are called records. Yes, Zach, horizontal are records. Awesome. Awesome, love it. And, well, at least one person is paying attention out of 99. Add it. And that is why they said, that is why we are seeing here, add a new field. So we have an ID. Now, class, by default, and we will understand why later on, by default, the first field is always an ID field by default. You could change that later on if you wish, but this is just how they set it up. The first field in any table will be called ID. Now, what I would like to do for this particular example, I want to store the names of students in this database. I just want to store your names, maybe a date of birth, and an address. How does that sound? So we have 99 students in this class. So we're going to create a database right now, right here, right now, a database for 99 students in this class. How do we do that? So let me show you. I'm glad you asked. So the first field is an ID field. The next field, I want to store people's first names. So where is Satyam? Already done throw any name in there. All right, so Satyam, we're gonna say, we're gonna put in your first name. We're gonna put first name, and then we're gonna put your we get the 100, Davey. We got the 100. And we're gonna put last name, yes, right, correct. Last name, Dawkins. Does that sound like a real name? I feel that's a fake name, and Dawkins, that's your real name? Dawkins. Are you related to Stephen? No, Richard Dawkins is the guy's name. And we're going to put in the next field will be our date of birth. So let's put date of birth, set 2014. So I'm assuming 10th of January, right? 2014. Right. And check this out. Now I'm going to add another. This feels like how you would do it in Microsoft Excel. You just start putting names. But what? Let me add another name. But look at this, sir. I'm going to create another student just below. Look at the ID. What is the ID number here? What is the ID number here? The ID number is 3. Now, why they use 3 and not 1, I'm not sure why. But look at what happens if I create another student below. I'm going to put, who's next? Nico, right, Nico. Look at what happened. Look at what happened to the ID under the 3. It automatically increased it to 4. By the way, I did not put 4. This was automatically generated. This here was automatically generated. They always increase it by a factor of 1. They always add it, always add. So Noah, and your birthday is 5th of May, sorry, May 5th, sorry, 8th of May, 2012, right? And just for demonstration purpose, what do you think this number will change to when I add the next record? Right, let's change, you said April 26th, so you go 26 dash April, right? What do you all think that number will change to? So Zach, 5, yes. So Davy 5, Destiny correct, 5, Zach 5, correct. Who's the next person? I don't have time to do everybody, but Ashley is very insistent that I put her. So Ashley, Margram, nice one. Nice one, Ashley. 13, right? So I'm just gonna put you as December. But if we put just for demonstration purposes, what will happen if we put 13/13/2023? What do you think will happen? Look, we got an error message here. We got a message saying, look at this message, Ashley. What did it say? The value does not match the date time type in the column. Ashley, you're trying to crash the computer. And what do we call this? What do we call this when we try to put incorrect data? What do we call that? And I'm glad you brought that up, Ashley. No, it starts with the letter V. Actually, first word is data, and the second word starts with V, because the computer has to ensure that, wait a minute, if you're entering a name, it has to be a name. It can't have no dashes. It's called data validation. Data validation. Hey, Nico, I put it as how you spelled it. Check back the chat. I think I spelled it the same way you. So come on now, right? But I need to fix this, Ashley. So Ashley, what do you suggest? Destiny, what do you suggest? Jadel, what do you suggest? Are we going to say, well, you know what? We're going to go, we have to go back to Ashley now and say, well, Ashley, what is the correct birthday? You can't, there's nothing like the 13th month. All right. So we'll go back to Ashley, and Ashley will kind of confirm and say, oh, you know what? Exactly. We have to clarify with Ashley. Right? So until we clarify what is Ashley's actual birth date, we cannot enter her data. So Ashley, I am sorry you did not respond in time. So we have to wait. We have to wait and make sure that we have to verify what is your actual birthday. And Jewel says, so we're gonna enter Jewel's birthday. And Jewel is the 10th, sorry, the 15th of the 10th month. And yes, Zach, it actually does change the month into the number of the date. It does that. So we're gonna put Jewel Subram. And we could do this on and on for all 100 students. Ashley didn't say anything, but Ashley, I do thank you for that example. Right. Now, so class, we have people's first name. We entered their last name. We entered students' date of birth as well. And we will be entering, and we could always enter phone numbers, email addresses later on. It don't matter. But for now, we're just okay with these 3 examples here. But I want you all to pay attention to the top field here. Notice something. What do you all notice there about field 1, field 2, and field 3? What's up with that? What's up with that? Yes, databases are so much more relaxing than programming, huh? Doesn't describe what the fields are. They are separate fields. Yeah. Yes, they are separate fields for each data, correct. And Destiny and Zach says they have no name. What do you all think about that? I have 100 students in class, and only 2 persons responded to my question, which is field 1, field 2, and field 3. Well, what is missing? Does that seem right to you? Does that seem... Wait, now, your teacher taught you guys for databases in Form 3? What school is that? MIT? Don't make joke. Right, Gerard, Shiloh, So Sonia, yes, the ID can start from 1, but for some reason it started from 3. I don't know. But you are correct. ID field usually starts at 1. It don't have to, but it should. And if it doesn't, what's the most important thing is that these IDs do not repeat. They are not duplicated anywhere. This field here, the ID field, is not duplicated. So the Form 2 said, hey, they learned this already. So Vishnu boys take front and say, you know what, we're going to teach the students the hard stuff early on. Good. So Zavion, Shiloh, Gerard, Destiny, and Zach said it right. We need to indicate, we need to label these fields properly. We need to give them proper identification. And how do we do that? Well, we do that just by obviously right-clicking and say rename field. Rename field 1. We could rename it field 2, field 3. We could just literally right-click it. Sorry, double-click on it and say first name, last name, and date of birth, right? And we could just do that. We could just do that, DOB as date of birth. We could just do that, nothing wrong with that. But I would suggest that we don't do that. Arden, nah man, you're too young for that. You're too young for that. Tell me, what is the challenge here? Yes, so Satyam, we'll get to gender and stuff a little bit later. We could do gender, email address, and phone numbers a little bit later, but we have not even got into the main part of this, the most important part of this. Plus, I would suggest if we have to name fields in your database, I don't recommend we do it like this, where we double click and change it from here. Why am I saying that? Well, let me show you how to do it properly. We will go over here on the left-hand side where it says table. We're going to right-click on it and choose design view. Think of design view as, let's say you are creating a car. A car has to have what? 4 wheels, a steering wheel, a spare tire. We have to design it. Yeah, with a car, we have to design it. Think about the design view as what are the components of your car? What are the components of your data? What are the most important parts of it? We have to tell it, well, it needs 4 wheels, 1 engine, 4 doors, or how many doors. We are designing it. We have to design. So obviously we have to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it students. And look what happens here. Notice field names your names of your fields are here on your left-hand side. And next to field name, we have data type. Now, take a second just to take in this whole page here, because this design view is very important. There's a lot of information here. So we're going to take it in parts. If you're looking at this and you're like, sir, this is so overwhelming. This is too much. This is too much. Oh God, the sun is too bright. That is okay. But we're going to break it up into parts. So we have 4 main parts here. We have this here. We have this one here, data type. And at the bottom here, we have the properties of the fields. But let us not focus on all of these things Let's take it, let us take it bit by bit. Let us take it bit by bit. So let us just focus here on this area here where I highlighted blue. We just have the field names. Look at it. ID, remember that? We had the ID, the first name, last name, date of birth. What should I, for gender, if I want to add gender of a student, what do? I go under date of birth and I say, and I type in what? Gender, G-E-N-D-E-R, right? Gender. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So what do you think will happen when we go back to the table? Let's go back to, let's open the table. And what do you think is going to happen? Well, in my case, my computer will freeze. But look what happens. Look what happened. It automatically, we have an additional field or column named gender. Everybody saw that? And everybody wants me to go over that one more time. Anybody follow? Nobody follow? Okay, somebody didn't follow. No problem. This is important, huh? This is very important. I want to now add a field here to store everybody's email address. One more time. So we already added gender. Let us now add correct Gerard. That's exactly what happened. So I am going to add a new field to store everybody's email address. We could either double click on add new field and put in email address, but I will not suggest that. In fact, if your examiner, if you put that as your answer in any questions, especially in paper 2, you will get it wrong. The correct procedure is you go to the design view and you add under field name, what we said, email address, email address. This is the correct way. Yes, Zach, that's exactly what will happen. And when we put email address and we open back the table, want to save it, boom, email address appears over here. This is the proper way to do it. Why is this the proper way to do it? I'm glad you asked. Let us go back to the design view. You'll notice something here. You'll notice this. Next to the field names are what? Next to the field names are what? So I have 3 responses, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right, good. Renika, hi. Nice to see you. Zach, you said it right. Data type. Destiny said it right. Data type. Gerard, data type, correct. Jardel, type of data, well, of course, data type. Arden, data types. Daniel, data type. G1, Jewel, Renika, Naomi, correct data type. Why is data type important? Why? So let us, if we go to data type and we click on the down arrow, we see all of these options of data type. Look at the different data types. We have auto number, we have text, we have number, we have date, time, currency, yes, no, hyperlink, attachment, lookup wizard. What? Why is that important? Why is that important? Let me ask you something. What will be the data type for your first name? Will your data type for your first name be a text? Would it be a number? Would it be a currency? Would it be an auto number? Yes, data type will be text. Why not a number? Why not a number? Why not a date of time? It's letters. I don't know anybody with a number there in their name. Even King George, the third or the second, or Elizabeth II, there's no two at the end of their names, it's just two letter I's. Right? Correct. So names must have letters. Yeah, I don't know why Elon Musk did that, but it would still store as a text. Date of birth. Can we all agree that date of birth, for especially for the students who did the Pascal programming class, would we all agree that the data type for date of birth is date and time? Anybody disagrees with that? What will happen if we put date of birth as a currency? We're going to have problems. Yes, exactly. We're going to have problems. So class, before you design your database, you need to know the names, the data that you're collecting, the names of the data that you're collecting, and the type. It is very important. It is very important. And gender will be a text. A gender cannot be an auto number, and an email address can be text. Now, up to now, I didn't hear anybody ask me, but sir, what is our auto number? How come the class didn't ask me what is our auto number? How come? Why you all didn't ask me that? But sir, where's our auto number? Where's that? What is that about? Well, what does our auto number? What does auto number mean? Right, auto numero. Auto numero. Auto number. So auto number essentially means, look at this. When we were entering new data, this ID number would have increased automatically by 1. And this brings us to the concept called a primary key. Auto numbers are what we use for primary keys. So let us go back to the slides. And for a quick recap, we have fields and records, create a blank database, design view, data sheet views, and we have the student blueprint. We have the field names and your data type. So this is all what we literally just did on Microsoft Access. We have the common data types, short text for age. We have number we use for age. But we have to talk about the primary key. The primary key. Now, examiner may ask you what's the definition of a primary key. So a primary key is a unique identifier for every record. No two students can have the same student ID. This might seem like a scary term, a unique identifier, but what that essentially means is that no two students can have the same ID, student ID. Why no students cannot have the same ID? But what about twins? Let me all ask you all something. Anybody have twins in their schools? In their school? Anybody have twins? Right. Jadel says yes. Shiloh says you are one of twins. Naomi said yes. Sonia said correct, because the info will not be processed properly. They graduate. So somebody says they know triplets. What comes after triplets? Quadruplets. What comes after quadruplets? Right, quintuplets, exactly. Exactly. So even twins, triplets, quadruplets, they all need to have a different student ID from each other. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Because how would you know? Well, there's always a smart twin, and there's always any twins, one is smarter than the other. That seems to be the case sometimes. So let's say we have two twins and their grades are different. We need to know which of the twins, what are their marks? Obviously, they will have different marks. Obviously, one might be strong in English, one might be strong in maths subjects. We need to know when we score in their marks. So let's say we have one of the twins is Amy, and the other twin is Jessie. One of the twins scored 81% in her grades, and the next one scored 79 in her grades. The unique identifier, the primary key, will help us understand or help us store the records properly. That is why a primary key has to be unique. What's another way of saying unique? What's another way of saying it? Another way of describing unique is something called duplicates. Look at this here. Over here where I'm circling, if a number is unique, that means there are no duplicates. So if you see no duplicates, that also means it must be unique. So this is why primary keys are important. This here is the whole foundation of databases. If there is no primary key, then your database is just useless. If it's one thing you must remember from today's class is this: primary keys. This is the foundation of your database. This is what links all tables across all records. In fact, Excel sheets, this is why Excel sheets, well, don't excel a database. Sorry for the pun. But Excel sheets are not excellent for databases. Why? Because they do not have this built-in feature. Class quiet, but class we're good. I find all the quiet. Nice. And how do we know which field is our primary key? Look at this here, and you're seeing this nice little, you're seeing, I don't know how good or someone their eyesight is, but you see, you're going to see this little key over here. That is how you identify a primary key. Let us just say, for example, I want to make date of birth my primary key. I could always right click and select it to be a primary key, but you notice something. You notice the key moved, right? The key moved from here to over here. Why did the key move from here to here? And if I want to go back and put the primary key, why did it move? Why did the key move? Why did it move? Yes, Destiny, correct. It moved because it moved, right, Zach? It moved because it moved. Yes, Azim, there can only be one. There can only be one. Yes, Joel, there are no duplicates. Nicholas, correct. There can only be one. There can only be one primary key. Let that sink in for a minute. There can only be one primary key. Per table, sorry. There can only be one primary key per table. Satyam. So Satyam, let us elaborate on that, and maybe I could go over it one more time. Everybody got that, or anybody wants me to repeat? This is very important, class. This is very, very important. This here is what make databases databases. Okay. Somebody said they don't understand and they want me to repeat. Repeat what exactly? Is it primary keys, or is it the auto numbers, or what it is? So class, is it okay if I just for the students who needs me to repeat, let me repeat this. Auto number. Okay, auto number. Good. Thank you for that. So I know exactly how to. So with the auto number, let us create a new database. Let's start from fresh. Let's start from fresh. Let's start from fresh and do it all over again. So what we did is that we are creating a new database. So you're going to call this database 19th of August. And here we have the data sheet view. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to the design view. I'm going to the design view. And instead of adding students, I'm going to add the names of teachers. Let's add the names of teachers for this example. Maybe that will help. So you're going to say, in fact, let us not use teachers. What you all want me to store in your database, in this database? Let's create a database to store the names of shapes. We will stick with teachers. We'll stick with teachers. Let's stick with teachers. a database for teachers. And in this database, we will want to store the names of the teachers and what classes they teach, right? So we're going to store the names of teachers and which class they teach and maybe how many years they have been working in each school. But Akshay and Satyam, what happens when we create our first database is that we are automatically assigned a field name, which is a primary key. Look at this, check, look at this. And you see the primary, you see this key here? You see that icon there? That is telling us that this field is our primary key. Now, we could call it ID or we could call it teacher ID. We could give it any name we want, you know. So we could call it teacher ID or teacher registration number. We could call it teacher registration number. We could give it any name, you know. But the most important thing is this, Akshay and Satyam, and for the rest of you. The most important thing is this, and there are two things that most important. The data type, which is auto number, and this icon here, you have to right click and make sure it says primary key. In addition to the teacher's registration number, we could give it, we have to know the teacher first name. So first name of the teacher, that will be a text. Their last name, that could be a text. And we might want to put number of years teaching. What data type will that be? Number of years teaching. It will not be currency. It would be a number. All right, Zavion? If I want to know what's the teacher's salary, what data type would that be, Zavion? Zavion, if I have to write currency, right? Correct, Arden, and correct, Sonia. For the teacher's salary, we could say currency. Did somebody write currency? And obviously you want to know which class, what subject the teacher is teaching. What subject? That will be a text. If I want to say date of employment, what data type would that be? So I have 98 students. I need at least half the class to give me the answer to this one, the correct answer to this. So Adam, correct. Daniela, why did you say that? Naomi, correct. Destiny, correct. Zach, correct. Really, Lawrence? Really? Really, Shiloh? Really, Mitchell? Look at the date of employment. The start date, start date, let me put it, start date of employment. So Aman, the question is, what will be the correct data type to store date of employment of this teacher? Why did it put text? That is just by default, but you have to be wiser to say, look, that's the text is the incorrect data type. What would be the correct data type? Yes, Satyam, correct. Zavion, Khalid, Vishana, Shiloh, correct. All right, so it will be date, time. Boom. Boom. Right, Satyam, we got it. So let us now go to the datasheet view and see what it looks like. Look at it. Look, just like our Excel sheet will look. We have the teacher registration number, which we could put as 1, or it will assign it a value. So who could give me the first name of a teacher? Joel, one time, huh? One time, Joel, let's take. So Lorraine, right? We're going with Lorraine. Lorraine's last name is O'Madley, so we're gonna go O apostrophe Mali. Number of years teaching, 10 years. Teacher's salary. What is a teacher's salary? I don't know. Let me say 9,000. Subject, this teacher teaches maths. Start date of employment. Let's say this teacher started in October 7, 2005. Let's put another, look what happened here. It assigned it number 1, teacher registration ID. Right, Savion? So next one is Darren. Somebody said Darren. Darren would be, I don't know, sing, number of years teacher 9, salary 10,000. This teacher teaches physics. Start date would be, this teacher started back in 2011. So the 18th of February, 2011. Notice the registration number automatically increased. And because it's a primary key, and we give it our auto number, that is why these numbers here will increase automatically. So Jadel, and for the students who wanted clarification on primary keys, what will this number change to when I enter the next data, the next record? Right, trace. So let us add one more teacher. Someone said Richard Gaffer. That sounds like a real name for some weird reason. Gaffer, 15 years. Wow. Salary 12, right? History teacher. And their start date, this teacher started today. And I think that's enough. 3 records are enough. How does that sound? Sounds good? Everything going good? Good. Students, do you understand any more questions about this? Any more questions about primary keys? I think we all got it. Zach, Zavion, I think Satyam and Zavion. So Satyam says he's good. Zavion, you're good? Akshay. Right. Akshay, talk to me. Someone wants the link to the PowerPoint slides. Yes, Alia. Apparently, there's somewhere now in some universe we just created a school with just only 3 teachers, and that school, for some reason, does not teach mathematics and English. Ain't that strange, huh? Look at what we did. The power of databases. So we have about half an hour remaining, which is a lot of time, and we want to talk about, I want to demonstrate two things. So check this out. We created a database here. We stored the teacher's first name, last name, number of years in service, the salary, and their start date. What if we said, oh shucks, you know what we forget? What did we forget? We forgot to capture yes, Ashley, for no reason. For no reason, huh? Yes. So we forgot, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to store information about the teacher's address, or whether they are teacher one, teacher or teacher two, or principal or vice principal. We forgot to store what is the teacher's level, whether teacher one, teacher two, or teacher three. Can we do that? Can we add information? Can we add a new field after we created a table, class? Can we go ahead and create a new field after we already entered this data? Can we do that? Is that possible? Or is it that, well, you know, we already created the table, you know, we can't add nothing to it again? It's delicate. This is a delicate, right? So we can. So databases are dynamic. They're not static. If they were static, then we'll just call them Excel sheets. But databases are dynamic. They are designed to add stuff, to take out stuff, but preferably add. So we just want to say, we want to put level. And level could either be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. So that will be a number. You put it as a number. And over here, look at this here. We have information about the data type. It goes into more details. So I want you all to pay attention to this part, because this is where a lot of students get thrown off. So Anil, that's a good question. Number of years, you mean number of years or date of employment? Huh, all right. Okay, so before we get distracted with that, I want you all to pay attention to this part. Remember we said there was this part of that we need to talk about? So we have field size, we have format, we have decimal places, we have input mask, we have default value, we have validation rule, we have validation text, we have required, and all of those nice little things. But I want you all to pay attention to required. Required. Pay attention to that. What required is telling us is that this field cannot be blank. If I say required, if I choose required is equal to yes, then this field cannot be blank. So let us now go back to the datasheet view. And we have to put a value in here. We have to put 2. These fields cannot be empty. They cannot be empty. If we try to leave any of them empty or blank, we're going to get this error. We're going to get an error saying you must enter a value for teacher level field. You must enter a value. Did you all see that? Did I do it too quickly? You all want me to do it again? You all want me to show you that again? So let us do that one more time. So teacher level is kind of like, it's just a thing with teachers where you have level 1, level 2, level 3 teachers, and it all has to do with some sort of assignment the Ministry of Education gives them. But that's not important. What's important is that we want to assign a level value to the teacher. And I want to demonstrate why. Look at this here. When we select level, in this area, we're going to have some values we need to put in. Look at required. Required. Enter value. When we say required, that means there must be a value for level when we assign in data to field level. Let that sink in for a minute. Everyone is good? We're good, yes? So I'm going to say it one more time. For level, required is yes. For first name, what is the requirement for first name? Under first name, what does the required says? Yes or no? Really, Zavion? For first name, required is what? Yes or no? No. Correct, Zavion. It should say yes, obviously, but this is where you as database administrators, you have to verify. You have to look at the data. You can't assume it's supposed to say yes. You and I both know it should say yes, but look, it is set to no. So what do? We leave it so? We leave it so, right? Well, you know, that's how they have it. So we have to switch it to yes. We have to switch it. That is our job. We are the database administrators. We are the ones designing the database. So we have to switch that to yes. All right. So good. We're following. Next one. Salary. Salary. Once again, what does salary say? Zach, where you want to switch your career from what and to what? Right? So salary, of course. Right now it says no, but it must say yes. You know any teacher teaching without a salary? you know any teacher not teaching with a salary? Of course, you have to have it required. So if it says no, and you and I both know, we have to switch it to yes. Well, honestly, boy, Zach, boy, accounting and database administration, boy, the kind of is all numbers and is all data you have to make sense out of. I say be both because accountants, I mean, there's a lot, but there's a high demand for it. But if you could always expand your skill set to data with some database administration, that will be very helpful too, because accounting and database administration is all making sense of data. Right. And someone is asking, well, so Sonia, I'm going to get to that. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. So the question someone asked, well, what's the purpose really for? What was the purpose of it really for? No problem. I'm glad you asked. So let us verify. We have to set for first name, it must be required. Yes. Salary must be required. And your, what was it? Level is required. So pay attention to this part. Jessie said she teach a class but never got paid. Well, that is why you need to join a union. So we said earlier that first name is required, your salary is required, and the level is required. We all agree to that? We all agree? Sonia? Because this I'm answering your question. Right, they are required. What that essentially means is that these fields where we put in Lorraine, Darren, Richard, or whatever, cannot and must not be empty. Let me demonstrate that now. So let's say, for example, we delete Lauren name for whatever reason. We made a mistake and took off her first name and decide to now move on elsewhere. Salary blank as well. Look at what happened. The program, the software is prompting us to tell us, hey, there must be a value for teachers' salary. It cannot be blank. It cannot be blank. So we have to put a figure inside there. We have to put a number inside of there. Otherwise, this message here will never go away until we address this issue. So it's sort of like it has its own sort of built-in enforcement, its own validation. That is why we have to put something. So I was going to put 1 and move on. So when we go back to the design view, look at it. Teacher's salary, it is required. It must be, is required. I think first name we didn't required, right? First name, yes, also. So is with salary. We got that? Okie dokie. Not a problem. So let's change this to no. Everybody got that? Any questions? We're good? Awesome. Right. And I have one more thing I need to demonstrate to you all about databases. And if you understand this last thing that I'm showing you, then databases are going to be a whole lot easier. Who right now feels like their understanding of database is improving from the beginning of the class till now? If you don't, be honest. Be honest. If the answer is no, then put it. Be honest. Right? So far, 3% says has improved even by a little bit. Someone said from -1 to a 9. Someone says, all right, has improved. Okay, so we've seen some sort of improvement. Now I'm going to show you all one last thing before we end off on access. Okay, so before we get into that last point, someone asks a very, 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 very good question. Anil asked an excellent question. Anil asks, what if person have the same name and same surname. So Anil, I'm asking you, so my question to you is this. What if, are you saying that there is another person named Richard Gaffer, and this second person who's Richard Gaffer, does he also have 15 years experience, and does he also earn a salary of 12,000? Or are you saying their number of years is different? And let's say, just for argument's sake, Anil, just for argument's sake, we're saying that he also teaches history, but his start date is actually different. We are saying these are two different people. But so right, so this person, Richard Gaffer, maybe, I love how some people ask questions and they don't answer my follow-up questions. I love that. So the number of years, let's just say this person teaching for 4 years, and his salary is same 12,000, and this person teaches English. Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking? And that is fine, because this is all the truth. But look at it. He could have the same first name, same last name, but look at it. Because it's two different persons, their teacher ID, this second person, this second Richard, is identified as student teacher registration number 4. And this one is a level 2. So we could identify persons with the same names, but different. We can identify different people, but if they have the same name, that is fine, you know. We just know. Well, look at it, Anil. Look, the second person is identified, the different person with the same name is identified with 3 and 4. Yes, Sonia. So Sonia, your ID number, those ID numbers that you have, those are kind of like think of those as unique primary keys, and that ID number that the government assigns to you based on your age and name, date of birth. Those are primary keys, you know. Yeah, Lorraine needs, look at Lorraine's salary. But we're not here to, this is not an economics class. So think of your ID, your passport number, your driver's license. Those are all unique primary keys. Nobody should have, and nobody's supposed to have the same ID identification number as you, the same driver's license number as you, same passport number as you. Those are all examples of real life examples of primary keys. Because just in the event that someone has the same first name and same last name and same middle name as you and the same age as you, there's a way to identify the differences between those two persons. Now, I want to show you all one last thing before we close off for the month of August. We want to know, and let's help out Lorraine here. We give Lorraine a little pay increase. What do you say? $80, 8,000. We want to now store the gender of the teacher. And this is the last thing we want to do. But check this out here. Validation rule. We'll talk about memoir next time. I want you all to look at when I'm choosing gender, look at this same area again. And I want you all to look at this validation rule. And I'm going to put validation rule as male or female. And look at what happened here. The text might be a little bit small, but I want the validation rule to be that you could either put male or female. It has to be one or the other. Or I could say M for male and or F for female, and look at it. The software automatically will put the validation rule as we can only have male or female. And then we have to choose it as required. Yes, this has to be yes. Questions? You all got real quiet there. Yes, Zach, it automatically translates it for you. We won't talk about Bishan. We won't do validation text right now. That's for another class. But we're just talking about validation rule, male or female. So let us now go back to the datasheet view. We have to save it. And check this out. Male, female. Sorry. Gender, Lauren will be female, Darren would be male. Yes, depending on rule, it can change. But let's say I made a typo and I put G. What do you think will happen? What do you all think will happen if I put any other letter besides M or F? If you say I put O, you'll get an error. Why? Because we told the database that it has to be either M or F. Yes, it's a validation. Exactly, it's a validation rule. It serves its purpose. That's the reason for it. What if we say, you know what, this M or F not making sense, it's confusing people. What do we say? You have to put male or female, right? It does it automatically. Let's now go back to the datasheet view. We have to say, if it's a Spanish, well, okay, so what's male for Spanish and female for Spanish? We'll do Spanish just in a little bit. So we have to put this as, we have to put female. We cannot put, let me put our, look. Right, L and Ella. All right, so we do that in a little bit, right? And I love that question, hermano or hermana. All right, good. So we will finish up with those examples. So we have to put either male or female. It have to be male or female. If we put, even if we mistake, we made a spelling error like F male, look, it tells us, look, it has to be male or female, right? So let's put male, and the next one will be male, right? And for the example of, let's just say we have to change the language from English to Espanol. We could say hermano. No, it'll be L or Ella. So it'll be L or Ella. Look, it will do it. It will change it to L or Ella. We go back to the database and we make the changes accordingly. So we have to put Lorraine as Ella. Ella. Darren as L. Richard is L. Let's say, for example, we put hermano. we put hermano. What do you think will happen if I put hermano for Richard? Zach. Well, I'm not gonna bother with accents and all of that. I have an English keyboard. Somebody said, well, since this is the last class, we should go a bit longer. Hello, hello. Some of us have things to do. I would love to, but I can't. So hermano, if we put hermano, we'll still get an error message, even though our intentions might have been different. But rules are rules. Yes, Malik, this is our last class. And if you want to continue classes in September, reach out to Mr. Sinanan, or you can reach out. I'll put my contact information a little bit later for you all to check out. So class, so you'll get the error message, ale and aya. Well, Zach, I don't think this is case sensitive. No, you won't get an error for the capitalization unless this is just for basic capitalization. We did not really get into all of that lowercase or uppercase. This is just really an introduction. If you want to get into all of that stuff, capitalization, lowercase and uppercase, that's a different class by itself. All right, so class, this is it for Microsoft Access. We have learned a lot today, and we have a lot more to do to cover in order to prepare you for your SBAs and your final exams in Form 5. But we are all, today, we kind of like a little bit out of time. You just really have 3 more minutes. And with those final 3 minutes, I would kind of like to say thank you all for being an awesome class today. You guys were awesome students. I couldn't ask for a better set of students. I really do hope to see Form 4s and Form 5s in September next month. Form 3s, you are welcome to join. But if you would like to join classes in September, here's my contact info, or you can reach out to Mr. Sinanan Arvin, who will also instruct you on how to best see how to attend those classes. Right? Renika, I hope to see you. Jesse, I hope to see you in a few years' time. Someone says you're now going to Form 1. What? You know, going to Form 1 and you learning database access. What? Well, very easy. Oh, the quiz. Sorry, quiz. My bad. Quiz scores. And we'll end off today's class by students checking out their quiz scores. Shiloh, Destiny. So Emily, the answer is yes. Right, so here are the scores. Great job, Aliyah, Adriel, Aman, Anastasia, Gaia, Kiran. Took the quiz 3 times, but Kayla, Kiran, Kelsey, great job. Nee, Satyam, Shiraya, wow. Jesse, awesome. Naomi, Isabel, wow, these scores are excellent. All right, class. So thank you. Hope to see you all next month. Do enjoy the rest of your vacation and have fun in school. All right, so goodbye. Bye-bye.